Good morning. This is the Eager Beaver Show.
You are listening to a True North Eager Beaver Media Incorporated podcast. The True North Eager Beaver podcasts are proudly brought to you by our founding sponsors, the Misfit Mysteries from Corvid Moon Publishing, your source for science fiction, fantasy, and cozy mysteries featuring a broad diversity of characters, CanadianTarot.com, your uniquely Canadian online eclectic tarot community, and the Pepper Master, hot pepper sauces made from farm-fresh ingredients to thrill your taste buds and expand your mind. Well, good morning and hello, kids and cubs. And it seems I'm a little fuzzy here, so let me just fix that right there. That should help. There we go. And welcome. Let's try that again. Good morning and hello, kids and cubs, and welcome to season 5 and episode number, I'm going to have to look that up for a little bit, 738 of the Daily Beaver Morning Show. Do, 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 do. Always 100% Canadian. Today, recording day is Tuesday, September 16th, 2025, and I'm looking outside the window, and I actually can't tell if it's a gray day or a blue sky day here. The sky sort of looks light blue, but it's not a bright blue, so I'm not sure if it's slightly overcast or not, to be totally honest. But either way, we're bringing the sunshine, so it's a beautiful day here at the Beaver Lodge. I am your host, the Eager Beaver, pronouns he, him, hey, Mr. Beaver A, and not with me, as usual, is my good friend, Mr. Grizzly. A big thank you goes to our podcast founding sponsors, the Pepper Master, the Misfit Mysteries from Corvid Moon Publishing, and PsychicTarot.ca. We have an interesting show for you today, return of question period. Elections have been officially declared on the rock, and as well. I forgot what the third topic is. Off the top of my head. Oh, yes. And of course, the Liberals had an announcement come out a few days ago with regard to a package to address crime, and it went a little bit unnoticed given all the big news about either the industrial reset or the major projects office or the return of Parliament. So we're going to focus a little attention on that today if time allows. How is your mental health today, kids and cubs? Mine is doing very well. It was really interesting. Yesterday, for some reason, I was tired, even though I had a great night of sleep the night before. Last night had a bit less sleep, but feeling more awake today. Don't ask me how that works, but it does. But the fun part was that yesterday had my first full-fledged rehearsal for Guys and Dolls. Mm, and it went pretty well. It was a vocal rehearsal, so we practiced the closing bit just before the curtain, I guess, falls at the end. I'm not sure if we're going to actually have a curtain fall at the end, but the end of the show, and then practiced a bit of the song "Sit Down, You're Rockin' the Boat" for any of you who are familiar with it. And the person who will be singing the lead on that song has got one hell of a voice. We heard yesterday, so we're going to have to do a lot to keep up as a chorus. And it's one of the more complicated ones in the repertoire because there's a lot of there's some calls back and forth. There's some singing in some little spaces where the lead singer is taking a breath, and then there's a lot of at other times ooh and ahing, which you would think would be easy, just to ooh and ah, but when you are four different, if you've never sang in a choir, when you are four different sort of four or five different vocal groups singing oohs and ahs on different notes, especially this early on when all you got is the piano. There's no drum to give you a beat, and there's no strings or anything there to give you a sense of where you are, and you don't read music, which oh, one of the things you might surprise you is I'm not sure if it's that way in professional theater, all the way at high up at Broadway, if everybody can read music, but at the community theater level, not everybody reads music, and I am with them. I have some minimal skills because I've been at it for a while now, that I could pick up a couple of things, but yeah, if I just see a note on a scale, I have no idea what that's supposed to sound like at all. Everything's always relative to the other notes, and once I hear it, right? Um, and that's how I can pick it up. But yeah, so picked it up surprisingly quickly for the complications. But now the whole thing is trying to not get pulled off your note, especially because we're fortunate to learn them when we're in sections with people. That have our same vocal range, but once you do the show, you could be on stage anywhere, right? I could be standing on stage next to an alto, so I need to know my note because it's not necessarily guaranteed that someone who's another bass or baritone will be somewhere near me that I can like listen to them and then cue off them. So you have to know it, and when the show comes, you just have to open your mouth and let something come out. And if you're wrong, you're wrong, and you fall flat on your face. That's fine, but you can't sort of gently swoop into it or not sing it and then try to join someone in the middle, or join it in the middle of it. You just have to boldly go, and if you face plant, well, you face plant. So that's the way it works. So you have to develop that courage and to go for it. So yeah, feeling pretty good after the first one. Uh, Already once or twice during that rehearsal, got that our musical director told us, it's like when you're singing this, make sure that you got your note and stuff like that. But when you're starting to get it, make sure that when you're singing, that you take some time to try to appreciate the entire global sound around you and see how it all fits. And there were a couple of times yesterday, right off the first rehearsal, where when we were all singing together, there was this like perfect blending of all the sounds for a couple of seconds here and there. Nothing anything wild, but it was like, ooh, okay, there's some potential here. So it seems that we've got a pretty good cast, at least for singing. On Wednesday, I'm going to find out more about the dancing. But yeah, pretty excited, pretty chuffed. And my the other bit of good news I got with regards to this is that my doubles curling partner, Michael, who many of you might know from the chat, hasn't been on the chat for a little bit because his work schedule changed. But some of you might be familiar with him, has graciously agreed to forego the first round of mixed doubles this season. Fortunately, in mixed doubles, you can join at any round, as opposed to the regular league teams, which are a little harder to come in mid-season. So we will skip the first round together because there's a rehearsal at the same time as mixed doubles curling every week or a performance until the end of November. So, and then we'll join that in the second round. So we'll be a little bit behind everybody else when it comes time to join and that type of stuff. But it will only be our second year playing together anyway, so it's not like we're going to be winning the championship this year. We're in growth and development mode. But Michael, Kit Michael, was kind enough to graciously agree to not playing the first round so that I can have this moment. So thank you, friend. Really appreciate the sacrifice so that I can live my dream a little bit. I've got good friends. I really do have good friends. I love them dearly, and they are very good to me. So, uh, blessed, as you can say. All right, kids and cubs. let's take a little look into the magic monitor and see who we have joining us today. We have Kit Wishful saying good morning, as well as Kit Nona Carol. We have Kit Elaine wishing good morning to Wishful, but probably to everyone else, I am sure. Kit Uncover is here with us, saying morning to everyone. Kit Argosy Acres is saying good morning as well. Hello. I'm glad that you are here. Had a long shift today, so I hope that either if you're in the middle of it and just taking a little break, stopping in to say hello, hope the rest of the shift goes well. If you're at the end and you're getting the chance to relax, hopefully you relax. And if you're just before starting it, well, then I hope it goes well. But either way, I got you covered. Okay, we have Kit Mo on here saying hello to the DAMFAM and hello to you and your fam. Good sir. Glad for you to join us. We have Kit Hyper T007 with us today saying, Bom dia, gente. Bom dia, gente. I think I'm slowly getting it. I know the last time I tried it, Kid Hyper T said I was doing 99% better, but I haven't had a chance to practice it for the past little while, so maybe I've slipped a little. But hopefully, I'm doing well. Who else do we have here? We have Il today with us. Hello, Kid Il today. I hope you are feeling good today, and I'm giving you a big hug. And hopefully, if you're not, that will make you feel a little bit better. And who else do we have? We have Kid Linda M. Good morning, dear one. Thank you so much for joining us again. Kid Bucky is here. Hello. I hope you are in good spirits. We have who else today? Kid Mayhem. Hey, just smile and wave. When in doubt, early wisdom. When in doubt, just smile and wave. Gets you through a lot. We have Kit Grace here saying, morning, damn fam, and morning to you, Grace. So glad you are with us today. Who else do we have? Oh, we're at 23,500 subscribers, according to Kit Uncover. Woohoo! Wow, that's really nice. We have Kit and Gilbert here saying hello, telling us to be ready when Jesus Christ comes back. Okay, not usually the type of message that we get here, but yeah, um, I, I, I guess we can. Yeah, I guess I could put that on my agenda to be sure to be ready. If he's, I assume that he's here every day, but if other people might assume that he's coming back at some point and that we need to be ready, on that type of thing. I just assume, you know, I just assume that he's there already. But that's just me. Different people can view it different ways. All right, who else do we have here? We have Kitsu saying good morning to us, and good morning to you as well, Kitsu. Glad you are here. Who else do we have? Kit Hugh is here. Hey, hey, hey. We're talking about good friends. Talking about good friends who I love a lot. Good morning to you, sir. I think Kit Hugh is even happier than I am that I got the role in the show based on some of our conversations since. It's good to have friends who are eager to share in your joy. So thank you, sir, and I'm glad you are here. We have Kit Saucy with us. Hello. Good morning. I'm hoping that you are still spicy because I like some spicy sauce. uh, Kit Saucy was a little spicy yesterday. We have a Kit Swanky Frankie here. Hello. Good day, sir. Hope you are progressively doing better. It is so nice to see you. Kid Jenny is with us again this morning. Good sunny morning. Ah, it's a sunny morning where you are. Definitely not sunny here, but hopefully, all together, like I said, we will make some sunshine happen here. We have Kit Toronto Dan with us. Hey, my friend, working very hard on some municipal politics in Toronto, doing his thing, supporting me and doing his bit for democracy. And we always encourage that. We see you, Kid Dan, doing your thing. Mr. Jim is with us. Please give a big hug to Mama Lori for me. And well, and so glad to see you here. Who else do we have in the chat? Oh my God, the gang's all here today. This is kind of fun. I hope I said good morning to Nona Carol, but in case I hadn't, I will say it. And if I have, well, twice is nice. And is that everyone? Just scrolling through. You are very chatty. We have Kit Christian with us. Good morning to you. Bon matin, mon frère. We have Kit Sean with us. Uh, holy crap, Jesus is coming. Everybody look busy. Uh, uh, hate to break it to you, but he probably knew you weren't busy before you started looking busy. But I'm sure he will appreciate the effort. We have Kit Miss Shatika here saying good morning to everyone. So is Kit Tavi G giving a wave. My word. And that now, okay, now we've got through everyone. Okay. Hail, hail, the gang's all here. All right, let's get into it, kids and cubs. Question period started again yesterday as the House resumed, and of course, uh, that ends up everybody looks at thinks of it as like, oh, the big confrontation between Pierre and the Prime Minister. It's coming. What's it gonna? Well, how's it gonna go down? Everybody going, Uh, t- let's put it this way. I saw a great quote the other. I'm not sure if it was a great quote or was there whether it's not somebody was paraphrasing something, um, but the way they tried that the media uh, isn't so much a reporter anymore um, as it is a fight promoter for all intents and purposes. And I thought that that was actually a pretty good description of what seems to be going on these days. First day of question period, it's going to be a battle. It's Carney versus Polyev. Is anybody going to land a blow of some kind, right? And, it is very much promoted like a fight card. Now, um, in fairness, the Conservative Party of Canada, well, the P in Conservative Party of Canada can stand for a lot of things. Pugnacious could be one, pugilistic could be another. Uh, this is a party that, under its newest iteration, um, since being reborn out of the ashes of both the reform and the progressive conservative movement, um, has always been just looking for fights and arguments and wedges and what they call drawing contrast. But I mean, it's to the point now of being downright cartoonish. It's the party as it stands right now is a caricature of a political party. It's not a serious political party in any way, shape, or form. It is not a government waiting in waiting. It does not behave like that. It's a rage machine. It's an outrage machine. It's a marketing machine. It's a self promotion machine. But it's not a serious political party. It's not really existing to advance policy. Pierre Polyev is not so much a policy wonk as he likes to uh, portray himself, and as Anna has tried to portray him, sitting at his desk in the home office for hours and hours and hours, you know, cracking his brain on the rocks of policy, just trying to get something to make life better for all Canadians. We know that that's not happening. Pierre's a storyteller. He weaves narratives, he tells tales, most of them not true, but he tells stories, right? He's a weaver of tales. He's a weaver of webs of lies. Um, but he's not a policy wonk. And this is not a serious party. And when you get in this case, well, the fight promotion instinct of the media tends to even go up a little more because, well, they know that there's going to be one person coming into the ring trying to throw haymakers at least. The question is whether or not the liberals, will join suit. Will try to throw haymakers and match the conservatives pound for pound on petulance, which is another thing the P could stand for in CPC. Well, the first question of the day had some congeniality, but then things very quickly returned back to pretty much essentially what we would expect from the party. So the growth, the promised growth and change of tone and evolution and all that kind of stuff that we were promised over and over and over again by this party since the election loss. Um, not materializing, not happening. In fact, we've got a brand new slogan that the conservatives used, question period, um, to introduce to the nation. Um, it doesn't roll off the tongue as easily as, axe the tax, because it has more than three syllables. It has three parts to it, and there's you can see the pattern and the rhythm in it, but it's yeah, it's not all that impressive, and it's also rather premature, which is another thing the P in CPC could stand for. But yeah, yeah, I mean, it's what we expect from them. The party is that party is very, very, very good at living down to expectations, unfortunately. So, but we'll show one or two segments, maybe three, from the question period here, just to give you a sense of how things got underway when it comes to this. Um, but yeah, it was a little less than impressive, and hopefully, I have the timestamps for the other things in question period that I wanted to show today, uh, and that may not actually be the case. So, all right. Then it will probably be just the first few interventions, unless I can find specifically the one that I'm looking for that will give you the idea of the new slogan so that you can hear it from their mouths. But if not, I will tell you what it is. So don't worry, kids and cubs. All right. So let's move to question period itself and see how it started. And it did get started off on a little bit of a congenial, I cannot lie. Um, and, Pierre tried to bring a little bit of humor as best as he can, I guess, to the opening of the proceedings. But there was a couple of things that he said that we might want to point out, maybe slightly missed the mark. Okay, here we go.
Oral question.
The Honourable Leader of the Opposition.
My mother taught me never to be late, so please forgive me for my late arrival to the session. I had some meetings with extremely important people in East Central Alberta, Mr. Speaker, after which I was honored to be elected by the great people of Battle River Crowfoot. I thank the great Damien Kirk who made it possible, and I thank the Prime Minister for calling a prompt by-election. I wonder if one day he might regret that decision, but in a spirit of good faith, I wonder if he agrees that our goal should be a Canada where hard work is rewarded, where food and homes are affordable, where streets are safe, where borders are solid, and where we're all united under a proud flag.
All right. So right off the bat, you could see slightly more congenial tone here from the leader of the opposition to open. Of course, he's not late for the session. This is the first one in the current session. So no need to apologize for being late. You were fanjoyed out of your seat. You shouldn't be there at all. You literally should not be there at all, but you did not want to accept the will of the people, and therefore you had the so-called great Damien Kirk, who proved to not be so great because he didn't think it was important enough for him to actually occupy his seat for the whole first round of this new prime minister. before we went into an election where there was some very important legislation to pass in those last few weeks. He stood up in the House at the first opportunity, said he was going to resign his seat, even though he hadn't actually resigned his seat yet. And then just moved to Battle River Crowfoot and started campaigning on your behalf and was not there to vote on C5, the major projects bill. And so that he was absent for some very important legislation. You weren't in the House because, well, you weren't elected. And then you had all Canadians make a political contribution in the amount of close to $2 million to you personally so that you could have a mulligan. And then you chose to run in the safest seat possible because you like a sure thing, because the sign of leadership is picking the easiest fight possible in order to get back into a position where you rejected. People said they didn't want you, but you felt entitled to be there. So you came back and you arranged for that to happen. And now you're back. You're not late. You're uninvited, as Alanis Morissette would sing. But for this, given that you managed to finagle your way back into the House after being rejected, you're on time. You're not late. You missed a lot during the time that you were away, and you should still be missing a lot because you should still be away, but you're not late. At least you got his writing correctly when he said it, considering how little time he spent there since being elected. But he apparently still remembers who sent him there. Of course, he calls them the great people of Battle River Crowfoot, and I'm sure they are great. I'm just not sure how he would know, given how little he's been there. But that's maybe just me being petty. So he asks a question, and here's the thing. If this was not the very first question of the very first session when he is coming back, as Prime Minister, were I to answer that question, I would just stand up and say, Mr. Speaker, yes. And then I would sit down. I do agree that we should pursue all those things, and that would be it. But of course, House of Commons, and it was opened with congeniality. So of course it needs to be responded with congeniality. And of course, again, when Pierre says, no, the Prime Minister may regret having made it easy for me to get back as soon as possible. Oh, I am sure that at the very next question that comes out of your mouth, he will definitely already start regretting it. If only because he needs to hear your voice. But let's see how the Prime Minister chooses to respond here.
Honourable Prime Minister.
Mr. Speaker, I'm sure I speak for all parliamentarians in welcoming the member for Battle River Crowfoot back to the House of Commons.
He passes a little more tepid here.
He may notice a few things have changed since he was here last. The largest women's caucus in Canadian history. And a spirit of collaboration that was shown in the opening session, including in the passage of the Build Canada Act and the projet de loi du Bloc québécois en ce qui concerne.
And the Bloc's bill in terms of protecting supply management. I agree entirely with the sentiment and objectives of the Leader of the Opposition.
I was deliberately flexible on time because it's a special day, but now we're going to respect the 35-second limit. The Honourable Leader of the Opposition.
So, and that was Speaker Frank Scarpaleggia. Of course, as you know, kits and cubs. There is usually a time limit, and of course, there was very much uh, exceeded there for the first one. As you can see, when Pierre stood up, his caucus seemed to, well, at least visually, be extremely pleased that he's there. Word on the tweet, however, is that there are some grumblings a little bit in the caucus, and that those grumblings may be able to make themselves slightly more heard this time around because, as you know, kits and cubs, under the former, under the previous session of Parliament, when Pierre was riding high in the polls, and it seemed that it was going to be nothing but an inevitability that he would be prime minister. The Conservative Party, and with Jenny Byrne being there full time, was pretty much being run as a very, very tight message discipline ship with a lot of negative consequences for the MPs who would not fall in line. Also, uh, you know, some mistreatment in the similar vein that Premiers Ford and Tim Houston talked about, when they were elected. Pierre couldn't seem to find a moment to place a call to them to congratulate them. Um, for their wins, and it seems that there was that type of stuff too. You would have a lot of punishment and of course reward if you stayed in line, but lots of punishment if you didn't. And well, given that Pierre is now returning as a leader who was rejected in his ride and needed a second chance and lost the selection and blew a 25-point lead, and Jenny Byrne isn't there full time, um, his caucus is not as afraid of him this time as they were when it seemed that he was going to inevitably be the next prime minister and might have had a lot of goodies to hand out should that happen, and everybody was being nice and kissing his butt. It seems that there are some people who are unhappy, particularly conservative MPs from Ontario East, particularly among those, even those from Quebec East. So the Quebec and Atlantic Canada Conservative Caucus in particular probably wouldn't mind a new leader already. And there's a few in Ontario that feel the same way, particularly since it seems that Pierre and Doug are not going to make nicey nice. Um, so that is, if the poll numbers don't start increasing and that type of stuff over the course of the next few months up until the review in January, this might be a problem that he'll have to contend with. But at least outwardly, they are all standing up and doing the clapping seal thing. And at the first intervention, you can see that the Liberals were a little more tepid in their applause for the return of Pierre to Parliament, but did give a polite smattering, uh, even a slightly more than polite smattering. It just took a little while to get it going in this case. Now, and then the prime minister standing up, of course, and doing the customary niceties, pumping his own tires a little bit. And then, of course, basically answering the question with yes. Now, given that that was the whole setup question, because I'm sure that Pierre Poilievre and Mark Carney have two different visions on how to achieve those particular objectives that they both seem to agree on. Now we get to the first real question. So the second question was Pierre basically saying the same thing in French. Um, because question period is in both official languages. So technically, this is the third question of question period, but the second question itself. And let's see where it is in tone that Pierre Poilievre chooses to take this for the first question, and what is in his mind the number one thing after all this time of him being out of Parliament, that the pressing question from which he needs for which he needs an answer from the government. And for some reason, I have gone fuzzy again, so I'm trying to fix that. There we go. Okay. let's see what it is that is so pressing. The first order of business that he absolutely wants an answer to on behalf of all Canadians. Just making sure we're all set up here. Yes, we are. Okay, let's take a listen.
Opposition.
Mr. Speaker, the Prime Minister mentioned how much had changed, and it's true. I look around this place, and when I left, there was a Liberal Prime Minister who was making excuses about breaking promises, running massive deficits, costs, crime, chaos were all out of control. And whereas today, we have a Liberal Prime Minister breaking promises, making excuses, running massive deficits with costs, crime, and chaos out of control. Mr. Speaker, when will the Prime Minister match the grand promises with the real change Canadians need?
So it seems that we're still on the just like Justin train. Nothing has changed. All right, let's see what the Prime Minister has to say.
Honourable Prime Minister.
Mr. Speaker, I understand the Minister, or the
Whoops.
Minister, promotion. Come on over. I understand the Leader of the Opposition was busy. He missed the largest tax cut for 22 million Canadians. He missed the cut on the GST for new homes. He missed eliminating all federal barriers to trade. He missed, I hope I'll have another opportunity to finish a very long list of what the Leader of Opposition.
All right. So, of course, a little flub there, which created a amusing moment. All right. And let's see one more question from the Leader of the Opposition.
Leader of the Opposition.
Dans l'esprit.
Oh, sorry. And then we go back to French. So I would have to fast forward to get to the next one. So let's not do that in that case here. But you get the tone here. What we're going to go for is just like Justin. Right? We had one prime minister who was breaking promises and making excuses, and well, we have another one. So, in other words, nothing has changed, and that suits Pierre quite fine because Pierre can't pivot. Pivotless could be another word that you could use for the P in CPC. There's so many of them. Anyway, but not petty, because petty is mine. All mine. So, oh man. So yeah, of course, a lot of theater, a lot of drama when it comes to question period, of course. But the thing that was disappointing about this question period for me in this particular instance is that, particularly this one, is that when it's the first one, it's you've been away for a long time, and then particularly first one with a new government as well, with a change in prime minister and all that kind of stuff. When you've been away for so long and you've been out there and you've been talking to Canadians, there's a lot of things that come to mind. There's a lot of subjects that you've heard about, and you would hope that over the course of question period, that a lot of these topics would be brought up. And what happened in this question period is there were essentially uh, 3 or 4 topics that the Conservatives brought up over again. So one was the price of food, 2 was housing, 3 was crime. And those were the 3 basic ones. There might have been a 4th one, somewhere there that they were talking about. And all of them were branded with the same tagline in it, which is the new slogan. And it was asking the same these three questions about these three things over and over and over again by various people, rather than having different people ask different questions about different things. They could have asked some questions about agriculture. They could have asked questions about fisheries. They could have asked some questions about transportation. They could have asked questions about border security. They could have asked questions about defense. They could have asked questions about funding for cultural organizations. They could have asked questions about the dental program, the pharmacare program, about childcare, about all these things, but they stick to just these three things, and it was the same question over and over and over again. And it seems to me, when you do that, then you're just, again, as the Conservatives do so well, use question period as a branding exercise. Here's 7 different clips of 7 different MPs asking the same question 7 different ways and not getting a satisfactory answer. And then you can stream those all together and you can say, oh my God. But it really is, it gives the sense of an infomercial in that sense, rather than bringing the business of the people. Because, yes, while the people are very much concerned about food, housing, and crime, particularly food and housing, because, again, if we're talking about the pyramid of basic needs, food and shelter at the bottom of the pyramid, you have to take care of those before you can aspire to do many other things, and therefore they are super critical issues. And yeah, maybe they would deserve more than one question. Especially if the answer is not satisfactory, you might want to ask 2 twice, maybe even 3 times. But the sheer number of times um, sort of makes it such that these are the only 3 things that Canadians care about, and that they don't care about anything else. There's not a question about the environment. There's not a question about, um, you know, uh, there's the move right now to, oh my God, I wish I don't know how to describe that off the top of my head. But there was an issue of citizenship currently on being discussed because oh, how does that darn, I can't even describe it off the top of my head. I'm so sorry, kids. I have this example in my head that I wanted to bring to you, and and for some reason I don't know how to properly frame it. But there was a decision by the Supreme Court of Canada with regard to citizen status. I believe um, of children of certain Canadians. I believe children of Canadians who happen to have been born abroad, if I'm not mistaken. Um, and the Supreme Court gave Parliament um, a certain amount of time to actually make a change to the law. And it has to be done in this session of Parliament. So they could have asked about that as well. But they didn't ask about that question. And I will find what that example is, kits and cups, and bring it to you because it's just escaping my mind at the moment. But this is a major issue because, I mean, it represents citizenship for certain Canadians. And they didn't even address that in the questions in any way, shape, or form. So it gives the sense that, question period is our time and it is our dime. And they have chosen not to uh, bring a full range of our questions that we might have there, just limiting them to a few, which is not the most effective use of the time that was there and given to them, which is a shame. Which is a shame because there's a lot more that they could be talking about, and there's so many more of our issues that they could be bringing. However, I'm going to show you a clip here, and this will give you an idea of what the new slogan is going. Make sure that I've got everything aligned here. I saw the comment yesterday. By the way, why when I showed the clip that didn't have the sound. I think there was somebody that had asked, why is it that sometimes I miss it? I miss it because between what you hear, kids and cubs, and what I say, there's about a 35 to 40-second delay. So when I start playing something, if there is no sound for some reason, I'm not aware of it until 30 to 45 seconds until after it starts. So I usually need some prompting from you because I don't hear what you hear when you hear it. I'm on a bit of a time delay. And number two, the clips when they play is when I usually take some time to set up the next clip because it's hard to set up clips while I'm talking. So sometimes if there is no sound and I'm setting up the clip, then I'm not looking at the chat. I have a whole other screen, and I don't see you telling me that there is no audio. Like I said, this worked a whole lot easier when there was both Mr. Grizzly and I, because one of us could be doing one part and the other one could be doing the other, and making sure that there is sound, or if there isn't, we would notice very quickly. But since I'm alone, it sometimes takes me a little longer to notice. So that's a little bit of how the sausage is made around here, and hopefully that answers your question. So I am trying to pay particular attention today to make sure that I have sound and video every time, so it doesn't happen again. I'm trying to change my process over here so that it affects the show a little less. But I just wanted to give you the explanation as to how that happens and why it is. Sometimes it takes me a little while to notice. It's just that we are not on the same time. All right. So this will give you an idea of what the new branding is from the party here.
King Vaughan.
Prime Minister promised to fix their broken criminal justice system and did nothing all summer. Meanwhile, 7 shootings have occurred in Vaughan in less than 3 weeks. A father, Abdul Aleem Faruqi, was shot dead protecting his family. Families across Canada are terrified, and repeat violent offenders are still on our streets because of weak Liberal laws like Bill C5 and C75. Another Liberal broken promise, another Liberal bait and switch, because this Prime Minister is just another Liberal. When will this Prime Minister's broken promises stop?
All right. We'll not need to show you let's say, for fairness, I will show the answer.
The Honourable Secretary of State for Combating Crime.
Mr. Speaker, the tragedy that the member refers to is one that's impacted my community greatly, and my sincere sympathy goes out to the family. We're going to make sure that repeat violent offenders are kept behind bars. Mr. Speaker, this summer I consulted with many police agencies across the country. A lot of their recommendations are going to be seen in this bill, but provinces too have to do their part to fix the broken justice system. They have to invest in Crown prosecutions, and they have to make sure that there are enough judges to hear the trials.
So there, make a great point being made by the federal government here, by the minister. That was Ruby Sahota. And I've responding to the question, and making the point that there is legislation coming, but that it is not the sole responsibility of the federal government. The provincial government also has a role to play. The question was asked by Anna Roberts, who is the MP for King Vaughan in Ontario of the Conservatives. But you will see here, kids and cubs, that the new branding was right there in the question. And this is the part I have a problem with, because they're giving just 35 seconds to ask a question and to answer a question. And in those 35 seconds, unfortunately, pretty much every conservative-based question contained the line. And I will read it for you here, just to make sure, because I get it word for word correctly, because I did take the time to note it. And it is just another Liberal broken promise, another Liberal bait and switch because this Prime Minister is just another Liberal. This Prime Minister is just an other Liberal. Justin other Liberal. They can't quit Justin. They can't quit Justin. They can't. They are stuck on him. So yeah, I'm not sure in what reality the Conservatives expected that the Liberal Party of Canada under Mark Carney would realize completely to the satisfaction of everyone the entirety of their agenda that they ran on in 4 months since the election without Parliament being in session. But apparently the Conservatives consider that a realistic expectation. I'm not sure Canadians do, but the Conservatives are pretending that it is and are running with that as a strategy. So yeah, just another Liberal broken promise, another Liberal bait and switch because this Prime Minister is just another Liberal. Doesn't roll off the tongue as easily as axe the tax. It's quite a mouthful. But that's what they're going with, and it seems that that's how they are going to use their time. Is like the last time in Parliament, every question asked, when are you going to find? What are Liberals going to do to axe the tax? Na 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 na, and then they would do something. So they are dedicating, you know, 3 to 5 seconds of every 35 seconds to put that branding slogan messaging in to every single question. Therefore, again, not doing the work of the people and not bringing the priority is not to bring our questions to the Prime Minister and to the government as part of question period, but it's to bring their slogan and their branding and their marketing. And it seems that that has not changed. Now, the last question I'm going to show you is the one that comes from Don Davies, the interim leader of the NDP, because he asks a question that doesn't have that's not in the same vein as the ones from the Conservative Party. And the type of question that Don Davies asks here is the type of questions that I would have liked the Conservatives to be asking. This with all the times that they have to intervene in question period, vary up the questions a little bit more. Here's a style of question that they could be using our time and our dime to be asking, but instead they just choose to do what it is that they do instead. So here, Mr. Davies, please take it away.
The honourable member for Vancouver Kingsway.
Mr. Speaker, unemployment has surged to its highest level in a decade. Young people are being hit the hardest. 1 in 6 can't find work. Our economy is facing a recession, and millions of Canadians are worried about their jobs. Yet, Liberals are planning to slash services people rely on and eliminate family-sustaining jobs through an austerity budget this fall. Will this government reverse course and create much-needed jobs through bold initiatives like a youth climate corps, as New Democrats have proposed?
The Honourable Minister of Jobs and Family.
Mr. Speaker, last week it was a very proud moment for me to stand with the Prime Minister and the Canadian Building Trades Unions, who are training young people all across this country for great-paying union jobs that are going to build the things that will make us the strongest economy in the G7. Mr. Speaker, this government has a fantastic plan for youth. We are investing in skills training. We are investing in the provinces and the territories so that they can do this work with us. We'll make sure no young person gets left behind.
And there we go, kits and cubs. So that's what I got for you from question period yesterday. There were some questions. That was the fourth category that the Conservatives were asking, but they were asking more about the temporary foreign worker program rather than, for example, a service corps. which is an active proposal that the NDP has, one that I think is a pretty darn good idea, to be totally honest. Not necessarily military service, but just a service corps, which probably be doing a lot also for national unity. If the service corps placements could be in another part of the country, could also be good for national unity in terms of exchange type program. Someone from BC goes into Quebec for a while. Somebody from Quebec goes to Manitoba. Somebody, from Alberta goes to Newfoundland. So to do their service corps type thing. So that there's a lot of potential in that type of stuff. So there are other questions that could be asked, right? And that we could use the time to get more answers on more things rather than asking the same question over and over again. But the Conservatives don't seem to be very limited in the range of things that they want to ask the government about, and don't seem to be concerned with anything else than the 2 or 3 fetish subjects that are very important. Don't get me wrong, are extremely important. The price of food, the price of lodging is extremely important. When's the budget coming? But, when is the Prime Minister going to start living up to his promises? That's a waste of time question. In all seriousness, it's a waste of time question. It's just a stunt question in that case. So, unfortunately, the Conservatives not showing that they intend to be any more useful or to make any type of concerted or meaningful change to how it is that they have been doing business. And that's what I take from this particular session of question period. And it's probably not going to get better from this point on, because the first one is the one that's usually the most congenial. And it didn't take very long in this particular first round of first questions of the new session for the Conservatives to start making all types of very curious and interesting allegations about the government in power, which is a shame, which truly is a shame, because there is so much more that can be done and that can be asked about. All right. Moving on a little bit here to other issues. One of the things that we have been talking about on the show a little bit, trying to, give a little bit of information as it's coming in over a sustained period of time, because it's a big deal. But there will be an election coming in the province of Newfoundland and Labrador, provincial election, because, essentially, there is a fixed election date law in Newfoundland and Labrador, from what I can tell. And yesterday was the last day that the call could be made. So it was. And according to the Canadian press here, and I am so sorry, kids and cubs, I am having a little bit of technical difficulty here, but I will definitely get over it here to bring it to you. Okay. So yes, yesterday was the last day that the call could be put to have the writ drawn for the election. And so the premier did so. I guess we still have to say interim premier in this case. And he basically made the call, and there's a little clip of him here being asked a question or two about it, where he's going to, of course, that it was indeed the last opportunity for him to do it. But we'll show you that over here. So again, just going to make sure that everything here is on screen. And this is the Premier, John Hogan, I believe has called the election for October 14th, if I am not mistaken.
What's your pitch to people in this province? Why should they vote for you and give the Liberals another term? I think we're really at a crossroads here in Newfoundland and Labrador. We've been filled with optimism and hope and pride in this province for as long as I can remember, and really for generations. And I think a lot of us feel we're still trying to get to where we can be and where we deserve to be. And I think certainly what this government's done over the last number of years in terms of reforming healthcare, and of course we still have a lot of work to do with our healthcare system, but we're on the right path. Things are pointing in the right direction, and we want to continue that work, make sure that everybody has access to primary care, make sure are fully running. Our new integrated ambulance system is operational and provide emergency care for people in this province. I think we need to focus on education as well. I mean, our kids are the future. We need to make sure that they have the best education possible to lead into the future generations for this province. And of course, the development and the MOU on the Churchill River is very, very important. This is a memorandum of understanding which I think is the bones for a really great deal between us and our neighbours in Quebec. But we do have some negotiating still left to do, some important negotiating. The right leader to finish those negotiations. I was involved in the MOU, and maybe even more importantly, I was counsel for every Newfoundlander and Labradorian at the Muskrat Falls Inquiry. So I heard about how deals on this Churchill River can go wrong. I asked questions about where they went wrong and why they went wrong. And I think it's important that we learn from our past mistakes. And we come together now and make sure that the deal that we sign, if it's the right deal, is the right deal for Newfoundlanders and Labradorians. And I'll make sure we get everything we deserve out of that deal. But rest assured, if we don't get what Newfoundlanders and Labradorians deserve, we'll hold Quebec to account for that.
Thank you, everybody. Win another majority?
Look, we want to win a majority government. We think we're the right choice for Newfoundlanders and Labradorians right now. As I said, it is seat by seat, district by district election here in Newfoundland and Labrador, and I'll stand behind every 39 of our candidates from coast to coast to coast in this province.
Any reason you waited until today to call the election?
Pardon me?
Any reason you waited until today to call the election?
The fixed date. This was the last day possible to call the fixed date election. I think it's important for Newfoundlanders and Labradorians to know about me, is that I'm going to be open and transparent. I want everybody to know where I stand, and I was happy to stand by the laws of this land and this province. And I'll continue to do that, and I want to continue to do that as Premier of this province for the next 4 years. Thanks, everybody. Enjoy your day.
All right. So that was the interim premier, John Hogan. I always have to make sure that I pronounce his name correctly, because there was the former premier of not Nova Scotia, British Columbia, I think, who was John Horgan. So just one little difference between them. So I say is I get the name correctly here. But yes, Newfoundland and Labrador going into an election October 14th, according to Elizabeth Whitten and Alex Kennedy of CBC. Newfoundland and Labrador will head to the polls for provincial election on October 14th. Liberal leader John Hogan, the province's premier since May, made a visit to the government house on Monday to ask Lieutenant Governor Joan Marie Aylward to dissolve the House of Assembly. He was all smiles as he walked the grounds, joined by his wife Jill and their dog Rooney, shortly after 1:30 p.m. Quote, "This is a very special day for me, and I think a great day for the province," Hogan told reporters outside. To be here now as the To be here now as the leader of the Liberal Party of Newfoundland and Labrador and as Premier of the province to lead our party into this election is a very proud moment. Election day polls open from 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. Newfoundland time on October 14th, but advance polls open 1 week earlier, according to Elections Newfoundland and Labrador. The deadline for candidates to be nominated and in place is September 23rd at 2 p.m. Newfoundland time. Hogan's Liberals are vying to hold on to power for a fourth consecutive government against a progressive Conservative Party led by Tony Wakeham and the New Democratic Party led by Jim Dinn. Each leader is also marching their respective party down the campaign trail as the head for the first time. So 3 new leaders. So no matter what happens, of course, there would be a new premier that would be elected. There are 40 seats in the House of Assembly. The Liberals hold 19, the PCs hold 14, and the NDP hold 1. 2 seats are held by independents, and 4 seats are currently vacant. Both the Liberals and PCs have a full slate of candidates, while the NDP has 18 listed on its website so far. We want to win a majority government. We think we're the right choice for Newfoundlanders and Labradorians right now, Hogan said. Hogan said Monday that he felt Newfoundland and Labrador was at a crossroads and he believes his government is the right group to move the province forward. Quote, I think a lot of us feel we're still trying to get where we can and be where we deserve to be, he said. We still have a lot of work to do. Things are pointing in the right direction, and we want to continue that work, as you heard him say in the clip. Hogan also spoke of the ongoing Churchill Falls negotiations between Newfoundland and Labrador, which he previously called the priority issue of the election. And as we mentioned in a previous show, that he has a law background, and he has also had other positions, as he mentioned in his video segment there, that makes him believe that he is the best suited to bring this project over the finish line. Leading up to Monday, the parties have been making a flurry of announcements and commitments if elected. DIN and the NDP launched their campaign on Sunday in Kitividi with a promise to create jobs, affordable housing, and to put an end to costly agency nurses. Wakeham of the Conservative Party promised to invest in wildfire preparedness on the heels of a historic wildfire season that destroyed dozens of homes and forced thousands of residents to evacuate their communities. The Liberals have been busy with funding announcements for weeks, like approving a $25 million repayable loan to Bria Renewables, extending an agreement between Newfoundland and Labrador Hydro to continue buying electricity from Corner Brook Pulp and Paper, and expanding internet access in rural Newfoundland. Now, according to Sarah Smelly of the Canadian Press, it also seems that the critics of the Newfoundland and Quebec energy deal are saying bring it on when it comes to the election. An imminent provincial election in Newfoundland and Labrador is a key opportunity for the public to demand transparency about a new energy agreement with Hydro-Québec and possibly even halt it, say critics of the deal. Jack Harris, a former member of parliament for the NDP, is among a number of former politicians, public servants, and energy leaders in the province to publicly oppose the tentative agreement, saying it repeats mistakes of the past. With an election call expected Monday, which was yesterday, Harris said he hopes the public will demand more public discussion about the agreement and vote according to where they stand. Quote, we're actually talking about repeating, with our eyes wide open, supposedly, the failure that was the Upper Churchill from Newfoundland and Labrador's point of view, said Harris, referencing a lopsided 1969 energy deal with Quebec that has haunted the Atlantic province for decades. Quote, we don't need to do this. This does not have to happen, and we'd be fools to do it. Newfoundland and Labrador's Liberal government has championed the new Memorandum of Understanding with Hydro-Québec as a game changer for a province carrying spiraling debt. The government expects its net debt to hit $19.7 billion next year in a province of about 540,000 people. But not everyone is sold on the tentative deal with Quebec's hydro utility. Accountant Mike Wilson resigned from a panel appointed to oversee the negotiations of final contracts and said a better deal was possible. He also said that the panel's independence was, quote, impaired, and its reports would not meet the public's expectations. Progressive Conservative leader Tony Wakeham has vowed to have an independent third party review the draft deal if his party wins the election. Quote, based on this independent review, I will demand better terms for Newfoundland and Labrador, Wakeham said in a fundraising email this month. And Harris co-signed a letter alongside 8 others, including a former director of Newfoundland and Labrador Hydro, saying the deal undersells the province's resources. It asks the utilities board of directors to stop the deal or resign. In response, Newfoundland and Labrador Hydro said their critique included inaccuracies based on, quote, incorrect assumptions and interpretations. Quote, as Newfoundlanders and Labradorians with families who have been raised here, we would never agree to hit replay on the past 50 years and will accept nothing less than a fair deal, said a message posted to the utilities website. 9 business leaders also penned a letter to Premier John Hogan last week saying the deal is fair, balanced, and a boon for the province. Criticisms have oversimplified the complex agreement, the letter said. The tentative agreement aims to end 16 years early a contract signed in 1969 that allows Hydro-Québec to buy most of the energy from the 5,428 megawatt Churchill Falls plant in Labrador for bargain basement prices. Newfoundland and Labrador Hydro pays the same rates but gets a fraction of the power, about 525 megawatts, despite owning roughly 2/3 of the dam's parent company. As of 2019, the deal yielded close to $28 billion in profits to Quebec and about $2 billion for Newfoundland and Labrador. Under the new agreement, Newfoundland and Labrador Hydro would get more power from the plant, up to 1,630 megawatts by 2061. Prices would also go up. Hydro-Québec would pay a forecasted $33.8 billion in present-day dollars over the next 50 years for its share of the electricity. That price will be tied to the market and other factors, including the cost of energy Hydro-Québec pays for other sources. Newfoundland and Labrador has said. Hydro-Quebec would also lead new developments along the Churchill River, including a 2,250 megawatt hydro plant proposed for Gull Island. The utilities would form a new company to own and operate Gull Island, of which Newfoundland and Labrador Hydro would own 60%. Hydro-Quebec would get 90% of the power for 50 years, paying rates tied to the cost of building the facility. David Vardy, a former chair of the province's Public Utilities Board, said he hopes people will use the election to demand the Liberal government face the mounting criticism and prove it is acting in the public's best interest. Wilson's resignation from the oversight panel raised questions the government must account for, Vardy said in a recent interview. He worries the MOU once again gives Hydro-Quebec too much control in exchange for quick cash. Quote, "My concern is that we've seen to be on our knees financially, and Hydro-Quebec has taken advantage of us," Vardy said. In a statement, a spokesperson for Hogan said the MOU is the result of years of negotiations and extensive independent advice from legal, financial, and energy experts. Premier Hogan has been clear that the mistakes of the original Churchill Falls Agreement will not be repeated, Sonia Pomeroy said in an email. The MOU will be, quote, the election issue, Hogan told reporters last month. Quote, it is what we need to talk about as a province. Harris said he is all ears. Quote, then let's talk about it. So interesting dynamic going on. So it looks like it could be a very interesting election. Possibly primarily a one-issue election. I'm not sure how the issues of affordability are going to play out because those are those are present and permeate pretty much everything throughout politics in Canada at the moment, and I'm sure that will have to be discussed. But I kind of see this as possibly being a single issue. Primarily election in the same way as I think it was the 1984 federal election on free trade was. There were certainly lots of other things going on, but that was sort of like the main dominant issue. In the most recent election, federal election, the menace, the threat that the United States presented to Canada was the overall dominant issue. And while affordability and crime and all those other things were there and needed to be talked about, they weren't as front and center as normally you would expect they would be in a federal election, because there was an existential type of question that was sort of overlaying the entire scene that had to be addressed and dealt with effectively in order for us to be able to touch on all those other issues. And it seems that this would be a similar case here. And of course, this seems to be a case that stirs a lot of passions because, yes, the last thing Newfoundlanders and Labradorians would want is a repeat of what happened 50 years ago in that case. So you have one party saying, hey, we're setting up to do the same thing, and we have another one saying, my God, no, we would never do that. We'd have to be fools to do that. And therefore, you have the fight card for the fight promoters in the media, right? But it looks like there could potentially be some spicy moments in this particular election, because this is an issue. It's almost an issue of identity in that sense that it's grown to be in that province over the decades since the deal was signed. So maybe not like was the case in Ontario when Doug Ford made the stop election one of the most boring and uneventful elections possible. That was it was hard to cover because literally Doug Ford tried to make sure that like nothing would happen and that there was nothing to cover. This seems like it could be a completely different one, where maybe one big issue is the salient dominant issue, but it evokes a lot of passion and therefore could create an election that is a little more interesting to cover than sometimes some of them are. So we will keep our eyes and ears peeled for that and keep on bringing you news on that, because we have some wonderful listeners on The Rock who check into our show, and we wanted to be sure that we are giving you some information as well. Of course, we won't be able to do it as well as your local sources because we're not there on the ground, but whatever that we can do, we do want to do it. And of course, we think it's important for people all across the country to know what's going on in Newfoundland and Labrador at this particular time. Also, when you consider that, I would feel much more comfortable the more provinces are led by non-conservative governments at the moment, constitutionally speaking, especially since we're in a minority parliament situation. So Newfoundland and Labrador remaining more in the progressive column on the side of the provinces would be a good thing. And fortunately, based on some data that we showed, I think it was last week, the Premier of Newfoundland and Labrador, at least the interim one, is enjoying a net positive 23 rating from the citizens of his own province, the residents of his own province, which certainly sets him up very well going into this provincial election. It is, however, difficult to know where things stand because I haven't checked in the last week, but I think it was at some point a week ago. There hadn't been a provincial poll done in Newfoundland and Labrador in almost a year. So the last one from a year ago showed something, but things may have changed since then. I mean, the premier is no longer the premier that was there a year ago. So that could change things. So nobody has a real sense yet going into it where the parties actually stand, other than the most recent polling from Angus Reid with regards to how the premiers are viewed by the residents of their own province. And the interim premier, as we had mentioned, seems to be very well viewed at the current moment. So from that, you can maybe extrapolate that in a party polling situation, that the Liberals enjoy a meaningful, statistically significant lead over the Conservatives in the province. But until there are actual polling numbers that can confirm that, that would remain only speculation. And I'm just going to go take a little quick look at 338 Canada to see that came up in the meantime. No, there wasn't for Newfoundland and Labrador. So yeah, we are still looking at the most recent poll here, 2024 in the province. That's quite a long time ago. Yikes. All right. There have been some updates for the province of Quebec, British Columbia, Alberta, and Manitoba, so we'll maybe bring you that on another show coming up. But yeah, not so great. Nothing recent when it comes to Newfoundland and Labrador, so hopefully we'll be seeing some data coming in now that a race has been called and that things are underway. All right, kids and cubs, moving on our show. This one is really interesting. Like we mentioned, there wasn't tons of coverage of it when it happened, and there really should have been because it was a pretty good announcement. Um, the Minister of Justice, Sean Fraser, came out and announced when the Liberals were having their gatherings pre-session that that the government was planning to move on crime. The Conservatives have been making a big deal of it. You even heard it in the questions sample question that we showed you from question period. The Conservatives are really trying to create this climate that, crime is rampant, violent crime is rampant everywhere, and people are terrified. They're afraid to leave their homes. And we're seeing actual data showing that crime is going down in most places, of course. But don't let facts get in the way of good narrative. But there are certain pockets of the country where crime is a worsening issue, and there are, of course, when you do crime statistics, there's certain crime where the rate of criminality for that particular crime goes down, but for other types of crime, it goes up as well. Conservatives are, if we're being kind, generous in what they include as their definition of violent crime as well, which adds a little interesting spin to their rhetoric. But hey, you know, it's a real issue and significant enough issue. It repeatedly shows up in the top 10 issues of concern for Canadians. It's not up there with affordability and all of that, but it's still, you know, um, um, lower to middle of the pack, I would say. Maybe, from fifth to seventh in terms of the top 10 issues of importance from what I can tell based on various polling, the ones that are asking about such issues. So the Liberals, pretty interestingly, seem to want to um, move into that territory and sort of preempt what the Conservatives are saying on that front in order to be able to neutralize the argument that is being made by the Conservatives on that front. And so it seems that the Liberals, they're not going to have one omnibus type of, they're going to have a certain number of them being introduced over the course of the session that all together are going to cover a certain amount of things. And all of them together is forming a package that they can present. And then we'll see which of these measures come first and which come a little later. But all of them are expected to be dealt with in this session of Parliament. And that would definitely go a long way to neutralize some of the conservative rhetoric. Now, the conservative rhetoric, of course, with regard to these ideas, has long been, as we mentioned on the show, accusing the Liberals of essentially stealing their policies, and the Conservatives are sort of taking a bit of a spiking the ball attitude. There was an interview yesterday with Andrew Scheer on Power and Politics where he was just a raging dick throughout the entire interview. And basically came down to, everything that the Liberals doing is confirming that we were right all along about everything. Pierre was right all along about everything, and they're stealing all our ideas. And we are happy to work with anybody if the Liberals want to just jettison the entire platform, their winning platform on which they ran and Canadians voted, and substitute it with ours instead. So if the Liberals want to put conservative policies in place, we will help them, but otherwise we won't. So it seems that the Conservatives are announcing that they plan to be as unhelpful as possible. I'm also looking here at some polling, and things have changed a little bit. I see, because the most recent Nanos numbers that we have, which was September 5th, and asking the most important issues, crime isn't even on the list. Trump-U.S. relations is first at 20%, jobs in the economy second at 17%, inflation 9%, housing 7%, healthcare 6%, immigration 6%, environment 5%, national security 2%, change the government 2%, and poverty 1%. So crime is not even registering on that list. But it had been for most of the summer, so that's kind of interesting to see that change. There's also a bit of tightening of polling. Nanos just came up with some more numbers very recently, according to Polling Canada here, in terms of parties. And while there was a consistent 10-point lead or more for the Liberals over the Conservatives on Nanos polling, the most recent data dated September 12th shows the Liberals at 42 and the Conservatives at 35, which is just a 7-point lead now at this point. So a bit of a narrowing of the gap, something to be expected, considering that we just had the by-election and Pierre got more visibility and has been having a little more visibility since. So not necessarily unexpected. 7 points is still a healthy lead, but it's not, 10, 11, 12. And so a lot of people could look at that. According to Research Company, which is another polling, it shows Liberals at 43, Conservatives at 38. So that would be a 5-point gap. So we are seeing a early narrowing of the in certain polling companies here post return of Pierre Poilievre as leader of the official opposition. But getting to the actual measures, I'm going to. Sean Fraser spoke coming out of one of the sessions when the caucus, I'm not sure if this one was the cabinet retreat or the full caucus retreat. Unfortunately, the sound quality is a little weird because the room that he was brought into to deliver this announcement did have a microphone, but it seems that there was a lot of people somewhere in the back or whatnot talking, and you hear a lot of the din from that in the background. There's not much, unfortunately, I can do about that. I've looked all over to see if there was a cleaner copy where the audio might be a little more isolated. That didn't happen. So for people that might have some hearing issues, the din that's constantly there could be somewhat distracting and make this a little harder to listen to. I apologize for that. We really did try to find a cleaner copy, and this is the best one that we were able to find. However, I wanted to bring this to you because it didn't get the attention that it deserved, being overshadowed by the big economic announcements. But like I said, the Conservatives are trying to make hay on the issue of crime. And this, I think, is a suite of proposals that, while it will probably not be everything that the Conservatives wanted, I find it hard to find an element in this that the Conservatives would be predisposed to disagree with. And therefore, I think that these proposals have been carefully chosen and crafted in such a way as to ensure that they would get Conservative support. Now, this would probably lead to the Conservative then running to the microphone and camera and saying, see, we were right again. And see, Carney is just saying that we were right. And on the other side of the ledger, the Liberals could be turning around and saying, see, our crime proposals are so good that we're able to get all cross-party support. The other parties being so partisan, but look at us, we went and we talked to people, we included some of their ideas, and, we made a bill that everybody could agree with. And, the Conservatives are doing what they are doing, just wanting to pursue their own objectives and, screw everyone else. So there are two narratives that could come out of this, both of them, and of course, for domestic consumption of their respective bases. The Liberals are working under the assumption that Canadians, given they were given a minority parliament, want to see parties working together. The Conservatives want to take the attitude that we're the only ones that have good ideas and only our ideas should be implemented, and screw everyone else, despite the fact that they were not given anywhere near that mandate, and the results would not show that. Despite the fact that their number of seats and their vote grew, it still doesn't mean that the majority of Canadians want what it is that they are offering. So let's take a listen to Mr. Sean Fraser and see what it is that he had to say with regard to various justice measures. Going to make sure again before I start playing that there actually is indeed sound and visual, and there is Mr. Fraser on my screen. So here we go.
Part of the discussions that we've held today touch on my portfolio, of course, given the imperative to enhance public safety and to address criminal justice reform in Canada. Over the course of the next few months, we are going to be advancing measures that's going to help adopt stronger laws and build safer communities. We're going to be starting off with a series of measures, some of which are in queue already, that's going to expand the authorities of law enforcement to investigate and to prosecute crime. Of course, we've got the campaign commitments that we've made in the recent election around hiring 1,000 new RCMP officers, 1,000 new border officers, and additional prosecutors to make sure that they can keep up with the increased demand that these additional law enforcement and investigative tools are going to deliver. In addition to the resources on the ground to help keep communities safe, of course, we are going to be adopting stronger laws when it comes to the criminal justice system. Over the course of this fall, you should see several major pieces of legislation coming out of the Justice Department seeking to help build safer communities. Specifically, you should expect to see us more than make good on our campaign commitments when it comes to implementing tighter bail reforms, including clarifying the role of bail in the criminal justice system, including reverse onuses for serious and violent crimes, auto theft, home invasion, human trafficking, assault, sexual assault. You'll also see a number of different measures that strengthen sentencing for violent repeat offenders, for serious crimes, to ensure that the perpetrators of those crimes face serious consequences. We intend also to address very serious challenges with delay in the justice system, to ensure that we don't have serious crimes thrown out or stayed purely because they've been taking too long. This is particularly important for survivors of sexual violence and for investigations that deal with complex drug process. This piece of legislation that will likely deal with bail, sentencing, and delays. We also intend to move forward with new measures of intimate partner violence. You should see new sexual offenses established, including the non-consensual sharing of intimate images and non-consensual sharing of deepfakes. There will be several other measures that touch not just on sexual offenses and intimate partner violence, that also protect kids against online exploitation, and we'll see more support for victims through the criminal trial process. In addition, we want to advance measures that will help address the scourge of hate crimes that we see in this country, including specifically faith-based communities, but also hate against identifiable groups more broadly. I'm looking forward to advancing a series of different measures in the next number of months. I'm excited to work with my colleagues to build a stronger Canada, and I'll tell you, we get a lot of support in that room to help make this country a safer place. Thank you very much. Happy to take what questions you may have.
Hi, Minister. Thanks for this. Lisa Mayer, CBC News. You're talking about all this legislation that you're proposing this fall. How soon? Do we have a date we can expect to see some of that?
We should expect to see in the very near future the legislation dealing with intimidation and obstruction of those participating in their faith community, as well as hate crimes more broadly. Next month, we anticipate we will be in a position to table the legislation touching on bail and sentencing. Subsequently, during this parliamentary setting, depending on how efficiently the process of the House works and the collaboration of other parties to advance this legislation to get it done, we expect to see that third piece of legislation tabled later in this parliamentary sitting that would deal with intimate partner violence, protecting kids online, and victims in the criminal justice process.
Great, thank you. And just following up on your comment about some faith-based community, there have been calls from Jewish groups to create nationwide safety zones because of a rise in hate and more security protection. Is that something you're looking at doing?
So I've had the opportunity to engage with the Jewish community over the course of the last number of months, most recently actually here in Edmonton, hosting a roundtable with members of the Jewish community locally in advance of our caucus meetings here. We have to make sure that we can do what's within our bailiwick, and that we also encourage other levels of government to take measures to improve public safety that are within theirs. Specifically, when you're talking about specific safety zones, regulating the ability of people to be in a particular place is not something that falls to the federal government. However, criminalizing morally culpable behavior that may take place in proximity to those institutions or elsewhere is something that we do have the authority to move forward with. Specifically, what you should expect to see is when we're dealing with those facilities that are meant to serve an identifiable group. Think of a synagogue for the Jewish community, a mosque, a church, but also community centers, schools, or specific places that are designed specifically for a given community. We want to add criminal provisions that would prohibit the obstruction of those facilities and the intimidation of the people seeking to use them. In addition, we are looking to establish new measures that would address hate more broadly, that is coupled with other criminal behavior that may take place regardless of its proximity to a particular faith-based institution.
Thanks.
Abigail Beeman, CTV News. I'd like first to ask if you have any thoughts about the shooting of Charlie Kirk and anything that it may say about the current climate of political violence.
Look, thank you for the question. This is unequivocally a tragedy. regardless of a person's politics, I hope all members of Parliament from all parties would be willing to condemn political violence. What I'm thinking of right now is children who are going to grow up without their dad, a wife who will spend her life without her husband. The reality is we need to be able to speak freely in a democracy without fear of being attacked, being killed for the opinions that we hold. When you take this into the context not just of political activists, but elected officials, you can imagine how the strength of our democracy will be eroded if those who are representing their community, the voice of their community in the halls of Parliament, don't feel free to express the opinions that they've been elected to advance. The senseless and horrific murder of Mr. Kirk is something that deserves condemnation by all political actors, and I am just so terribly sorry for his family as they mourn this extraordinary loss.
Thank you. And going back to the timeline you provided about legislation, I believe you said the first legislation would be around would be the faith-based and communities issue, and you said very near future, and then the bail reform would be next month. So safe to say that first legislation would be this month in September, the next couple of weeks?
Look, it's subject to final decisions taken on the legislative schedule with our House Leader and to events that may always intervene in these circumstances. We intend within the first few weeks, if not sooner, to advance the legislation pertaining to hate and obstruction and intimidation of faith-based institutions, and at a date we're still working toward in October for the bail, sentencing, and delay legislation.
Thanks.
All right, kits and cubs. So just to give you an idea of what was going on, you can see that these are a package of measures that have been well thought out. They've been considered. They're not going to come in just one omnibus bill. The minister seems to have an idea of various timelines that each of the individual pieces will be able to come out. He had he's been asking questions. He's been being asked questions, and he is giving a certain number of rather substantive answers to them, which is always very positive. Now, this got so little attention that I am looking all over for a news article covering it. And yeah, there is pretty much nothing, because unfortunately, this news came out on the exact same day as the announcement of the 5 projects on September 11th. And therefore, there doesn't seem to be anybody, even though there was a press conference, that seems to have written about it in any major way in order to communicate to Canadians that this series of measures was indeed coming. That's pretty sad. As you can hear, there are going to be measures dealing with various issues of home invasion, some bail reform, things that could be happening online with regard, for example, spreading of intimate pictures or using deep fakes in order to cause issues for other people. Probably, again, the whole issue of sort of revenge porn to protect children who are online from predators, of course, which is a bigger and bigger issue these days, particularly through gaming platforms. TV Ontario had a great documentary this summer about specifically, I'm not sure if it was specific all about the Roblox type game, but basically how those types of games where you log on and there's a sort of like a chat function at the same time, and you get to play with other people in other places, create the type of avenue for predators to start grooming children online to be doing things that they should not be doing, definitely at those ages. So we need stiffer penalties for those types of things. These are all things that I think that the Conservatives would have difficulty opposing. They might oppose in the same way that they oppose everything else, not good enough, not enough, and not fast enough. but they have no problem with the actual ideas actually being advanced. It's just not enough or not something enough. Which is, your last refuge when you don't really have anything. If you pretty much, I think Brad Levine was saying this on Power and Politics yesterday. If government is presenting something and you pretty much agree with the ideas, but you need to criticize something, then you criticize that it's not fast enough. That's pretty much all you got left for all intents and purposes. You need to do it faster. You need to do it faster. So that's basically where the Conservatives are at the current moment with this. But you can tell that the Prime Minister, even though he's very much focused, and even though the federal government seems to be very much focused on Canada, how it faces internationally, even our relationship with the United States doesn't so much seem to be the focus anymore. When we thought that we would be able to go in and get a relatively quick deal because we thought Donald Trump wanted to make some deals in order to provide increased security and stability and predictability to our business sector, that was one thing. But again, as we mentioned on the show frequently, when we kind of figured out that Donald Trump doesn't want a deal, he wants the drama, because the drama he can milk forever and he can trot it out at very convenient purposes, particularly when he needs a distraction back home. We learned that we had to make a pivot to trying to stall what the U.S. was doing, or delay or drag our heels as much as possible, so that we can let things like court decisions and internal pressure take their place, let whatever the United States is doing to itself, as we say on the show, by repeatedly punching itself in the dick, start to manifest and have some pressure come from the inside. And while that is happening with every second that we buy, we are trying to sign more deals and make more arrangements with many of the other 51 nations with which we have 15 different free trade negotiations, and trying to maximize that while we are laying the groundwork for ourselves to be our own best customer. Right? We have the Major Projects Office, we have the Building Homes Canada office being set up, we have the Buy Canadian policy that has been announced, where we are moving from strongly encouraging to making it mandatory, with the Prime Minister challenging the provinces to change the province procurement rules so that they would line up with the new federal ones, so that provincial procurement also follows those same standards of wanting to buy Canadian first. Hopefully Alberta and Saskatchewan will decide to join in on that, because that would be very helpful. They haven't been the most helpful so far, but hopefully even that's something that even they can get on board with. So when you look at it all together, they've been working on that. They've been doing that very well, but it seems that under all of that major current, there is still some desire to tackle at least the crime issue. We'll see if there are more measures for individuals with regard to affordability, other than the income tax cut that they keep talking about, which, while it does give an income tax cut to certain people, and while the about $800 per year that they're talking about, is better than a kick in the teeth, right? That's not enough. If you're having trouble making rent, it would be doubtful that an extra 825 or 800 something a year would be enough to cover that gap for an entire year and give you enough breathing room. The tax cut was too broad and too wide to be of life-changingly substantive help to any one particular household or set of households. It was just sort of a money sprinkled around all over the place, which ends up being a big bill at the end of the year, and a loss of revenue for the federal government, which of course will lead to the fact that when the budget comes down, we will have a higher than projected deficit, because, well, we're going to spend that $9 billion to top up the military by the end of this next fiscal year. So that was unexpected when we were in the campaign that it was going to be done that quickly. We were going to do it, but we thought we might do it over a year or two or maybe three, but we're doing it all in 1 year. And then when you forego revenues on top of that, you dig a bigger hole for yourself. And then when you plan to invest in major capital projects at the same time, which is spending I personally agree with if the projects are well chosen, because I have no problem with taking, I understand, as most Canadians do, the difference between good debt and bad debt, right? Debt that you take on to further your education will lead you something extra in the future, will help raise your earning power and increase the amount that you get paid. So therefore, you will be able to cover that debt over time. Essentially, the debt will take care of itself, right? If you go get an education and you putting yourself into a position where you, instead of getting paid a maximum of $45,000 a year, you can maybe get paid $70,000 a year. Well, that extra money, improves your quality of life and allows you to pay down that debt. The debt will take care of itself now that you have the additional earning power, so long as you have the discipline to make your payments, of course, right? But that takes care of itself. So in this type of um, climate, with the federal government wanting to spend money in order to be able to make money by making these investments, the initial outlay does have to be made, and the Conservatives are going to try to treat these initial outlays as more reckless inflation causing debt, but and treat this the same way as if you're taking a loan to take a vacation, or taking a loan to cover your credit card bills, or taking a loan. That's not good debt, right? A loan that you take out to pursue your education, to buy a house, to invest in a business, whatnot. A loan for purposes of buying investments. Well, these are things that are income and they are revenue generating, and therefore, if all conditions remaining equal, of course, and your investment goals being what they are, you should be able to repay that debt without any problem down the road, given you have the extra earning capacity and income generating capacity. And this is where the Liberals are sort of leading. But for that, you do need an initial outlay of cash, which is going to make it such that the deficit, if you add the operational and capital budgets together, the way that Mark Carney is going to try to separate them and get us to thinking about money in that sense. But when you look at the overall number altogether, it is going to be larger than what was predicted going in. And the Conservatives are saying that they're laying the groundwork so that they can, when the budget does come down, they could say, "Oh, look at us. We were right all along. See how much they're spending." And they'll want to conflate both numbers to try to confuse us and call it all bad debt, but it won't be. So we as Canadians need to make sure that we are informed about what's what in that budget in order to prevent the Conservatives from attempting to pull the wool over our eyes on that one. All right, kids and cubs, I think that's the end of today's show. We hope that you love listening to us because we love making this for you. Remember, sharing is caring and word of mouth is priceless. So please tell your peeps and poops all about us. We really appreciate it when you do. Saw in the chat there during the show that Robert Redford, the actor, has passed away. And so that is some very, very big news for the entertainment industry and world. A couple of days ago, also, actress Polly Holliday had passed away. For those of you who are certain vintage and remember the sitcom Alice that was on TV, she was the waitress at Mel's Diner who would say, "Mel, kiss my grits." And for those of you who are a little older who remember the movie Gremlins, you might remember her in that. She was very good, but she also has passed away. Very, if you're of a certain vintage, indelibly inscribed in pop culture was Polly Holliday. So Robert Redford and Polly Holliday, both no longer with us, sadly. Remember, sharing is caring. And please, if you can, share our content with your followers because you are influencers in your own circle and it means a lot to us when you do. If you would like us to help you, kids and cubs, because you are busy and on the go, and sometimes you don't have time to watch the show live with the DAMFAM or at your own convenience. Sometimes you need to take us with you. Well, thanks to the generous contribution to our show from the Ray Girl, this QR code that appeared, if you scan it, will bring you to our pod page. That's podpage.com/the True North Eager Beaver with a hyphen between each one of those words. And when you go there and click on subscribe, when we have an audio version of our podcast ready for you, it comes to your audio feed, and therefore you don't have to go looking for us. You can just download us and then pop us in your ears, lightweight, and you take us with you. We don't weigh you down, and that way you get to do your important work while keeping abreast of what's going on. You can multitask. We make it easy. Now, if you would like to help us, we would definitely love your help in the form of maybe surfing on down to the True North Eager Beaver Media Incorporated YouTube page and playing with our buttons. We have the like button, the share button, and the subscribe button, which a lot of you have been pressing lately. Thank you so very much. It makes us very happy when you do, and it helps us with the algorithm. And kids Cassie and Elaine definitely approve. Now, if you would like to help us in other ways, kids and cubs, we do incur some costs to bring the show to you, and we would be very, very grateful for your enthusiastic expressions of encouragement for us to do more. And you could do that in the form of a tip to what we affectionately call the Beaver Lodge's Emergency Hydration Fund, where you can help us fight the scourge that is dry beaver. Oh my, that's a terrible thing. Let's make sure we take care of that before the show ends. If you would like to do your bit to keep your favorite beaver moist, or to say add a grizzly to Mr. Grizzly by buying him a cup of dark and bitter coffee, well, a couple of coins in the emergency hydration fund, when it hits the bottom, makes a lovely sound, brings us a lot of joy, and it helps us bring this show to you. Now, if you are buying Canadian, which is very important and we like to encourage, truenortheagerbeaver@gmail.com is our email address where you can send us a direct bank transfer. Your operation is entirely Canadian. Nothing goes to the US CE Tech Bros, so they can't take a cut from it and then donate it back to Donald Trump to do terrible things to us. And because that doesn't happen, we get 100% of your donation, which means that your dollar goes further in helping us as Canadians, well, curate and analyze and provide commentary on news for other Canadians with a Canadian perspective. And given this age of all these U.S. vulture funds and hedge funds trying to buy our news outlets and trying to bring their discourse to our country, it's important that we have news that is by Canadians and for Canadians. So if you agree, we would definitely appreciate your help and support in the form of a direct bank transfer via truenortheagerbeaver@gmail.com. Now, that same email address is where you can write to us, because if you're not able to donate financially, that's okay. We appreciate the gifts of your attention and participation, and we want to hear from you. So let us know what you think about the show. And if you have some guest suggestions, if you are running a small-based business or you know somebody who is, and they would like a little advertising, or if you're a part of a community group and you have an event coming on and you would like to advertise it to try to get more butts in the seats, we have very, very advantageous rates, and we would definitely like to talk to you, because we have something for absolutely every budget to help you get the word out, and we would appreciate helping you do that. And particularly if you're a small Canadian business, because people are buying Canadian, and you're making some stuff and you would like to increase your market. Well, right here, at the number of subscribers that we are at now, 23,500, I think it is, and a lot of them in Canada, very, very engaged Canadians who are eager to support other Canadian businesses. This is a very good place to make sure that you reach the demographic that you are particularly seeking. So we appreciate anything, any suggestions that you have for us, because we are happy to do our best to make it work. So thank you for all of that. Because democracy is something that you do, hey, election campaign in Newfoundland and Labrador, kids and cubs. So It's been called. It's on the way. So find out about your candidates, volunteer to help them, or call Elections Newfoundland and Labrador and see if they need some help at the polling station. There's lots of ways for you to help. And of course, make sure that you have a plan to vote and that you bring people with you. It is very important. And since we're talking about Newfoundland and Labrador, even though the matching portion of it is done, the Red Cross appeal to generate some money to help our brothers and sisters in Newfoundland and Labrador who have been particularly hard hit by wildfires is still going on. And we would definitely need your help with that. And you can do that by contacting the Red Cross at 1-800-418-1111, via email at wecare@redcross.ca or www.redcross.ca. The appeals for Saskatchewan and Alberta are still going on as well, even though that matching period is done. But if you can help, please do, kids and cubs. Remember, forever-canadian.ca if you are in Alberta. They're still looking for signatures, looking for a little bit of money if you have the ability to do that, because this type of recruitment work does require a little bit of money. And if you want to help collect signatures by becoming a canvasser, that's also where you go. You can find out where are the pop-up stations so that you can sign the petition. Remember, all signatures have to be witnessed. That is the law in Alberta for this type of initiative. And Danielle Smith is doing her best to be duplicitous again. There's some clips of her going all around the internet of her stating that she wants to do her best to block a separation referendum, but she is trying to spin the initiative by Tom Lukasik as being a push to referendum, when we know that that is not the case at all. Mr. Lukasik's question is about keeping Alberta within Canada, whereas the people for whom Danielle Smith is bending over backwards as if she was a Cirque du Soleil contortionist are the people that are actually trying to bring a separation referendum question. So Danielle Smith, she's doing the bait and switch here, trying that. She's actually labels it as Lukasik's separatist referendum, and that is not the case. So while she is doing her damnness to try and upend in this, don't believe her, because she is lying. And that type of lie, Kitson, is the very type of thing for which we need a law. We need a law to prevent people from lying in that particular way. And well, it seems that there are some Canadians that are making a push for that. There is a petition that is currently online that is sponsored by Karim Bardassi, a Liberal MP. It now has 14,313 signatures, so a little more than 4,000 more since we first talked to you about it about a week ago. And we have until November 27th, 2025 to gain as many signatures as possible on it. So again, I'm going to include it in the chat here for all of you who have not signed it. Please go to ourcommons.ca and look for petition number E-6679, Ethical Issues, it's called. And it is a petition to try and create some type of mechanism to verify whether MPs' public statements to maintain trust in our governing body. Well, basically, a mechanism needed to verify MPs' public statements to maintain trust in our governing body, because a lot of MPs and members of Parliament, and it seems provincial parliaments also, like to deliberately and knowingly and intentionally lie to Canadians about either what the law is, what the law says, or what proposed laws or citizens' initiatives intend to do, as Danielle Smith is doing here. And it would be very nice to have a law that would have some teeth and meaningful consequences for politicians who seek first to deceive by, well, tangled webs seeking to weave, as Danielle Smith does. So if you can, encourage everyone to sign that. The more signatures, the better, because if there's a lot of signatures, that will send a definite signal to the government that this is something that Canadians really care about and do want legislated, and maybe that will prompt them to actually introduce such legislation. Would that be nice? All right, kits and cubs, words of wisdom. Like I said, it's an election coming in Newfoundland and Labrador. Get involved. This is the time to do it. All right, if not now, when? It's time to do democracy. Roll your sleeves up. Get happy. Kids and cubs, it can be a tough world out there. So please be kind to and gentle with yourself. And now, at the count of 3, may I hear you all say, Mr. Beaver, please cue the cock. 1, 2, 3. There you are. There you are. Well, how can I deny you? You know I love you guys too much. I live to serve. Here you go. You are listening to a True North Eager Beaver Media Incorporated podcast. The True North Eager Beaver podcasts are proudly brought to you by our founding sponsors, the Misfit Mysteries from Corvid Moon Publishing, your source for science fiction, fantasy, and cozy mysteries featuring a broad diversity of characters. CanadianTarot.com, their uniquely Canadian online eclectic tarot community, and the Peppermaster, hot pepper sauces made from farm-fresh ingredients to thrill your taste buds and expand your mind. We are grateful to the Crier Media Network for its support, Pete Jarvis for our artwork, and Paul Joseph Something for our opening and closing sequence music. All right, kits and cubs, before we go, a little bit of news about Canadians who make us proud. Of course, the World Track and Field or Athletics Championships are going on, and we have yet another world champion. It happened while we were doing the show yesterday, but kits and cubs, how would you define both fierce and fabulous at the same time? Well, it seems to me that the definition of that would be none other than the amazing and fantastic Cameron Rogers, world champion, I believe, in 2023, Olympic champion in 2024, and once again, world champion here. And not only world champion, but in style with a throw of 80 meters, 0.51, which is a new national record and the leading throw in competition this year worldwide. She got through the qualifications with one throw on her very first throw, boom, qualified, and bringing home the gold yet one more time for Team Canada. This woman is unstoppable, absolutely fierce. So once again, they were playing our song at the World Championships, and Devin Haru made the point here. Canada now has 2 gold medals at the World Athletics Championships, and they both come from athletes who call Richmond, BC, their hometown. Whatever is in the water in Richmond, BC, can somebody please send me some, because it might help me a lot with my with my tennis game. Oh my God! And here's a lovely, lovely, joyous, celebratory picture of her. She has got the best smile, by the way. How can you not fall in love with that? So there you go. Hammer throw, Cameron Rogers, and presently competing, if I am not mistaken, is in the men's event is Katzberg. And based on what I saw in the chats not too long ago, I think it was Linda who had made the statement saying that he currently was indeed in first place. Oh, and I see Jake is here from What You Can Do. Our old pal Jake. Write to us, Jake. We sent you something, and we're trying to get a hold of you because we want you to come back on the show. We want to talk to you. So send us a little email, truenortheagerbeaver@gmail.com, and let's make a time. The kids and cubs miss you, and they miss your face, and so do we. So we want to see you. So please do. I just saw you in the chat there. Write to us, please, 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 please. We want to make some time to have you back on the show. All right. Okay, kids and cubs. That's all I got for you right now. That's all I got for you right now. So with that, oh, Kit Lindam says Canada wins the gold. So it looks like Ethan Katzberg just did that. Broke the champ. Okay, it says here Ethan Katzberg broke the championship record to win by 2 meters. He too threw one throw in the qualifications, one and done, and qualified, I think, with a 3-meter lead over the next closest competitor. So both he and Cameron Rogers, fierce, fierce, fierce athletes. 3 gold medals for Canada already at the World Athletics Championships. And I'm sure that they'll hopefully there'll be more and more medals of different kinds, of course, as lots of Canadians have some fantastic results here. Wow, there's a lot to celebrate, kids and cubs. There's a lot to celebrate. And one of the beautiful moments that took place is Gabriella Debut Stafford in the 1500 meters. She's been a veteran, and wasn't getting for various reasons. I'm not sure if there was an injury or something like that, but had to work her way back up, and she qualified for the semifinal, and she's back into the finals again. And if you saw the interview with her from the result of that, she is just so elated to be back at a competition form that gets her into finals. So let's see what she can do with that. Unfortunately, there wasn't great news for Mo Ahmed in the 10,000 meter race. He had to stop in the middle of the race, had some type of physical ailment that did not allow him to continue. They had brought the wheelchair to the track in case he needed it, but he did not need it. So hopefully it's something he will be able to recover from relatively quickly. That was a shame because he's also just a great guy. And just like Evan Dunphy, he's someone that I would love to see win a gold medal one day, because he too has been putting in the work and making us proud for years upon years upon years. But there's a lot more to come, and hopefully there'll be more medals for Canada coming down for us. All right, kids and cubs, that's all I got for you. Like magic, I am gone, and we will see you tomorrow. Bye.